Okay, new one, old one. Power's off. I'm going to undo the screw up here, and I'm just going to loosen. I don't have to take it out all the way. Just loosen it up a little bit on both of those, like that. And the wires should, see, it slides right off. And I know this is going to be the top, that's going to be the bottom. And look at this one. I put it up the same way. That's the top. This is the bottom. And you can put both in at the same time. You can do one at a time. I got both of them shoved in there. Okay, I'm going to tighten up the bottom one first. Snug. I'm going to do the top one. Snug. Now I'm going to crank down a little bit, and you can hold your hand back in there. I gave it just a little bit of a turn. Okay, I want it snug there, and it's going to fit right back in where it was before. Okay, now I'm going to get the new screws. Got the new screws here. I'm just going to get that started. And if you need to twist it one way or another, you kind of want to do that before you get it in too far. Hold it in there. Looks fine. Okay. Tighten her back up. And the previous one had a mark up there where the old one kind of fit exactly at a spot. And I don't have to have it exactly perfect, because the cover, I can swivel the cover. You know, even if this cut-in box was slightly off, it doesn't matter. But this can also be moved right or left, because there's a little bit of a slop there. And if you want, you can have that, you can have it slightly over, let's say. Line it up where you want it. If your existing cover before was covering up a blemish on the wall, for instance. But if it's not, this cover, you can move it. Okay, on some electrical outlets, you can only move it so far. And so that's why you want your boxes to get in there. Here the box has a wing that went flump like that up behind there, and it's screwed in. That's why you've got the flanges on the outside. So I'm just going to look at that and see if those are snug. They are. So I'm not really going to mess with those. I've got videos of that on my channel too, how to install a cut-in, electrical cut-in box. That's what that's called. Okay, this is going to go on there like that. And this nut is very thin, but it's got, you have to have enough thread sticking out of there, and you do. Okay, put that on there, like that. And then I'm going to tighten that with my little crescent, my classon. And you want to line that up. My pet peeve is seeing anything that's crooked. Okay, so I can eyeball that. And first off, I want to make this fairly snug. Okay, to where I could slightly move it. And if your eyeball is bad, you can actually measure it off of something. Okay, 13 3/4, 13 and a long 3/4. So I know the top has to go over slightly, like that. That looks pretty good. Okay. See, it almost looks like it's supposed to go over at the top even more, but when I look at this, that looks really straight, so I'm going to leave it right like that. I can hold that, and I'm just going to crank this down. Just make it fairly snug. Don't tighten it so much that you're going to break the threads. Those threads on there are only plastic. You see, here's the old one. See those threads right there? It's plastic. You could crack that, and then this is loose. Then you're going to have to replace your old timer because of the cracked threads. Okay, so this has a flat spot on the rod that sticks out. You look on the back of that, and that has a flat spot on it, see? And I know that that's supposed to be facing up anyways. That's facing up. I'm going to look at that about where it's supposed to go. I can even wet my finger and put on there a little feel about where it needs to go, because sometimes these push on kind of hard. I know it's right there, and I'm going to push on here hard. There. Okay. That's good. All right. I've done it, but now we've got to make sure it works. So back to the electrical panel we go to turn the power back on. Yeah, you don't have to be an electrician to do that. Did you see the steps that I did? Main thing is to get the right timer to replace that with, right? Okay, so now I'm going to turn the breaker back on, and just one firm push back on. Looks good. Before I put the cover back on, I'll just double check everything out here and make sure that it works, and it should work. Okay, let's get you in. And on these timers you have to turn it at least 20 minutes. See right there, here's 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. It says turn past. You have to at least turn past to that, and then it will click on. And because the air conditioner was still on when I shut the power off, it actually turned on. Had that been turned off, had this been off, okay, when you turn the timer on, and if that was off, then you're going to have to turn the power on right there. Or you take the handheld remote and turn it on, okay? And it's working. The only way for you to know if this is working 100% would be to run it for 4 hours. Let's say some of them you turn it on 4 hours. Sometimes I just had another one I had to replace, and it was stuck in the 2 hour position and wouldn't go any further. This one I think was stuck around 2 hours or 1 hour or something. So if you turn it less than an hour, it would still work. But if you turn it further than that, it wouldn't work. Okay, so you'd have to turn this all the way to 4 hours, but I've never once had a brand new Intermatic timer ever fail me when I first installed it, okay? Everything looks fine on here, and I'm going to call this job complete. Of course, before you get an entire job 100%, make sure you move your furniture back into place where you found it. That's part of the project. And I see there's some dimples in the carpet where it was before. I want to keep it as close to those dimples as I can in case somebody wants to come and look at my handiwork to see if I pushed everything back into place where it was before. That's part of the project. Okay? Be mindful of that. That's all I got for this time. And I'll be back with more videos. Well, if you were just with me on the last video, you would have seen that I just replaced that 4 hour timer, because the old one was sticky. Now I've got something else to do, and I always leave the crummy things till the last. Here's what I'm talking about. This sink is dripping, and I know this handle's not even in the right position, by the way. It's supposed to be like this, and it's dripping, drip, 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 drip. And I believe it's the hot water side. And somebody's messed with it before, because this handle should be out this way. They were trying to think, oh, maybe I can do it differently and get it to shut off. Nah. There's a cartridge inside of there that I'm going to have to try to replace. And look at this toilet. The toilet, I've got to mess with this thing too. I'm trying to decide which one to do first. But either way, I've got to do them. You're on here. It's loose. And I've looked at that down there, and it's broken. The seal on there, look at this. I can slide this toilet back and forth. I have no idea how that happened. And so I'm going to be taking this toilet off if I can turn the water off. Sometimes the valves give me fits on turning them off because they're 10 years old. If I can't turn that valve off all the way, I may not be able to fix this toilet today. Okay, but it's a one-piece toilet, very difficult to do. I think I've shown you before that I've done some other videos, and if you've been watching my channel, you will see how to reset a toilet such as this. But hey, I've got my video camera here. Every job is slightly different, so I'm going to do a video of that too. But I think I'm going to tackle this sink faucet first. This is an American Standard sink faucet. I really like this faucet. I really don't want to have to replace this entire faucet. This one was very expensive. To get new faucets nowadays, you could spend anywhere from $135 to maybe $200. And it's a real hassle to take all this stuff off and work underneath and all that kind of stuff. If I can fix this by changing out the cartridge, I will. It's just lots of times this handle right here has a tendency to want to stick and break the little stud of the screw off of the top of the cartridge because it's 10 years old. So you want to see me tackle that, stick around.